Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the newest palettes that have been added to my collection. I am on a low or no buy. I did break it recently for one of these palettes, but besides that, most of these were gifted to me and I just wanted to introduce them to you guys and talk about them a little bit. I've tried each of these so far, I think. I'm not ranking them or anything. It's just chatting about them and looking forward to playing with them. If you are new here, hello, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. I love to play with colorful eyeshadow. I film and upload several videos every week. If you like what you see, you may want to consider subscribing. And by the way, I did film this eyeshadow look, which I will link down below in the description box. Now let's get going and talk about eyeshadow palettes. You may hear some little noises. I put my daughter down for a nap and she wasn't a big fan of the idea, so she's upstairs sort of chatting in her crib a little bit. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But let's talk about some of these palettes. I think there are 7 here. And the first one I want to talk about is the Aha Honey from ColourPop. Now this is a palette that was gifted to me. I had a subscriber who kindly sent me a whole box of some extras that she had in her collection. And so several of these palettes are from her. But this one is the ColourPop yellow monochromatic palette. I'm sorry, I don't know why that was so hard for me to get out. It's the monochromatic palette in yellow from ColourPop, and I actually had my eye on this one a little bit now and then because I really do like yellow eyeshadow. I especially like to pair it with other things like orange and green and blue, and I had heard that this was pretty good quality. The reason I didn't personally buy it was because I had a couple good yellows smattered throughout the rest of my collection, and also because it has a pressed glitter, and I don't really want pressed glitters, especially in a smaller palette, because it's like, well, there are 9 shadows here, one of them was a glitter, which I don't use. However, you may notice that this look today has some glitter liner. I did a little bit of a, I don't know if it is considered a graphic liner or what, but I did it with glitter. This side is really, really chunky because this is the first side I did, and I hadn't actually applied glitter possibly ever, maybe once before, way in the beginning. But anyway, this side was pretty clunky because I kept like dragging the glitter instead of just getting my brush wet with the glitter primer and then placing it in, where I wanted it to be. So anyway, this side's a little bit neater. We can look at this side. But either way, I think it's really fun. I'm actually surprised how much I liked adding in the glitter because aside from that, it's an all matte eye look. And anyway, we'll see. But this is the Aha Honey palette from ColourPop, all yellows. Today's the first time I used it. I do look forward to taking this palette and pairing it with all of my other favorite colors and seeing what kind of looks I can get. Next one I want to talk about is also from my subscriber. This is the It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop, and this was the first, I think it's the first purple monochromatic palette that they released. I actually owned this palette a while ago. I had owned it, used it, and passed it along, but when I passed it along, there was a little bit of regret because I would hear people, when they would rank all of their purple palettes, so many people said that this was one of their top purple palettes. And I know that purple can be a difficult color to formulate. To get a good purple eyeshadow has in the past been a little bit tricky. I think brands are doing better overall, but this is a great purple palette. I think I decluttered it at a time when my skills were certainly not there yet. And I just found that I didn't play with it a lot, and I felt like I had taken in too much ColourPop stuff in general. I did buy too much at the beginning, and so part of my mindset was just get rid of stuff that wasn't being used all the time. So this was one of those casualties. I'm excited to have it again because, like I said, when I decluttered it, there was a smidge of regret, and now I've got it back in my collection again, thanks to my subscriber. So I do look forward to playing with it more and seeing if it's something that I can reasonably use now to a point that I'm happy with. So the next palette I want to talk about is one that I did recently buy for myself. I didn't break my low or no buy. Let me give you the parameters of that. I don't want to dip into a personal bank account for eyeshadow palettes at this time because my husband and I are on a budget and our money is allocated for other things. But through the apps Poshmark and Mercari, I do sell palettes, and so each of those has just a small balance that floats through the app, and I'll sometimes use that balance to buy something new. So here is one that I used with one of those balances. This is the Violet Sage palette from Ace Beauté. I think I paid $9 for this, 8 or 9. Violet Sage was released as part of one of these subscription boxes, possibly Boxy Charm or Ipsy or something like that. But because so many people got it as subscribers, but they didn't necessarily wanted it, it did really flood the secondhand market, and so I was able to pick it up for a good price. I've always liked this color story. This is, I think, their newest launch. I think it's a lovely color story. I have used this twice, and one of those was in a video on YouTube and once was a reel on Instagram. And my complaint with this palette to date is that these two shades are so similar. They're both light pink shimmers, and I wonder why one of them wasn't a light green or a light purple shimmer, because we've got other color stories within this palette. I think it's pretty. I do like the color story. I just wish that it had not been given two light pink shimmers. One of them was different, but the quality so far has been fine. It's what I've been expecting from Ace Beauté. I'm gonna rank, I think, all of these palettes later when I've had a chance to play with each of them more, but those are just my initial thoughts with the Violet Sage palette. Another new palette in my collection, also from that kind subscriber, is the Sandstone palette from ColourPop. I have been thinking lately that I needed to get some more neutral palettes in my collection because I have only colors, lots and lots of colors. And I thought that those colors would be accentuated and enhanced by having the option of going a little bit more neutral, you know, ground out a look sometimes. So I was thinking, well, I should get a brown palette and maybe a black and white palette. One of the palettes that I was looking at within the brown family was the Sandstone palette from ColourPop, because I know ColourPop's quality, and I thought that this was a decent assortment of neutral tones. There are a couple of pops of color here, but overall it's quite a neutral palette. We have light, we have dark, we have some more warm toned and more cool toned, and overall I thought it was probably a reasonable option for me. So I decided not to get it, or any brown palette actually, when I looked through my collection and I saw a few palettes that had browns here and there. And I thought, well, maybe I'll take those few dollars in my secondhand app accounts and go buy one of the black and white palettes. But my subscriber offered this palette to me because she had, I think she had two in her collection. One of them was untouched. And I was like, yeah, actually, if you're getting rid of it and you want to pass along some stuff, I would be happy to accept the Sandstone palette because I was looking at it anyway. So here we go with this nice neutral palette. I have used this once or twice. I used this in a video where I also tried out a bronzer for the first time, and it was a little bit, the video itself was a little bit of a mess. But the eyeshadow palette I had no problems with. I did enjoy a couple of these more interesting shimmers, like this one over here I think is the one I used, and it's light brown with a green shift to it. So anyway, here's a new neutral palette in my collection. I do look forward to playing with it more and seeing what kind of fun I can make with it. Moving right along, this is the Still Pretty palette from September Rose Cosmetics. This is the palette that I did break my low or no buy. I dipped into a bank account to get this palette. I didn't pay much for it. I think it's like a $27 to $30 palette. I forget the exact price, but there was a 50% off sale for this palette specifically, and so with international shipping I still didn't pay the full price of the palette. So I was okay with that, and I think it is a beautiful palette. There's a whole video where I'm talking about, hey, I want a red eyeshadow palette, which one should I get? I can card that above for you if you're interested. And then I ended up getting Cherry on Top from BH Cosmetics, which is a great palette, great quality. I knew the quality, I knew the brand, I knew it would perform beautifully, I knew it was highly reviewed, but this one was still my first choice, and it excited me more. I just wasn't ready to put out the money for it. So anyway, I finally did get this palette, and I am excited to play with it. I've only used a couple of these shades so far. I really want to play with it more and get more of a pink look, more of a purple look, and see what else it can do for me. But so far, I've had a lot of fun with it. It's beautiful, and I do look forward to playing with it more. The penultimate palette is also from ColourPop. Here is Or Kid You Not. This one I bought a while ago using my balance in one of the apps, and I knew that this palette was great quality because it was so highly reviewed by everyone. I was a little bit slow in purchasing it because I tend to prefer a nicer mix of tones and depth in my palettes, from light to dark in both shimmer and matte, although with shimmers I'm definitely starting to lean more towards medium to light shimmers. I don't usually use dark shimmers that much. This is obviously a very dark palette, however it is beautiful. I love these plummy purple orchid tones. They are so lovely. I used this today as well, along with the Honey palette. Those are the only two palettes I used. You can see I got a beautiful purpley, mauvey, berry kind of look. It's just lovely. I mean, I do use this shimmer and this shimmer more than I really use the other ones, but overall, it's great. It's a beautiful palette. Sorry there's now noise outside. This video is just going to be noisy, I think. Oh, hang on. Okay, I think that sound effect is done now. There were landscapers outside working around with a weed whacker. Anyway, my thoughts on the Or Kid You Not palette. I have used this one multiple times and the quality is great. I love this shimmer right here, and this is a great palette for merging with other palettes if you really want to go quite dark in the outer corner or do a great smoky eye. But it works beautifully with pink palettes, red palettes, purple palettes, blue palettes. Like, you can use these tones to deepen up many other colors and get a lovely, warm and well-rounded and also interesting angle to your look. It's beautiful. And finally, the last palette that is newest in my collection is the Wahala 2. This is from Juvia's Place. This is my first time trying Juvia's Place. This was also gifted to me by that subscriber. You can see a lot of these new palettes were gifts. because of my low or no buy. I've used this palette multiple times. I think, depending on when I schedule this video, I think that at the time of this video going live, you guys have already seen an entire week of videos using the Wahala 2 palette. I can link that playlist down below in the description box if you're interested. It's a new series I'm doing where I do a week of just one palette, and every look that I upload that week is using that one palette. So I started with the Wahala 2 as a shout out to my subscriber who gave it to me, but also because this is a very large palette full of variety, so I thought it would be a great idea to start off that series. And overall, again, having a lot of fun with it. I do really especially like this aqua row right here. I'm excited to have a couple silvers in my collection, and it's just a nice, colorful palette. Again, it's the first time I've tried Juvia's Place, and so far I've been impressed with the quality of the shadows. I haven't had any issues with them. I don't want to talk too much because I do want to rank all these palettes at some point coming soon, once I've given them all some more time. But I just wanted this video to be a little intro to the newest palettes in my collection if you guys were interested, and that wraps it up. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm sorry for all the noises. I'm going to go deal with my little one who maybe she wants lunch before her nap. I'm not sure. Her schedule is changing, and it's a little frustrating because I'm not sure when she's tired enough to nap or when she's just tired-ish. But anyway, I'm going to take care of that. If you want to see more videos from me, I hope you'll consider subscribing because I do upload quite a lot right now. I'm glad you clicked on my video, and until I see you in my next video, I hope you have a great day. Bye!